Subscribe to our YouTube channel and don't forget to press the bell icon to get all the latest updates. The Chushul subsector along the line of actual control is emerging as a live theater of conflict between India and China. India has rubbished claims from China that gunshots were fired in the air, saying in fact it was the Chinese troops who fired in the air as they attempted a new land grab. These reports of shots being fired in the air by the Chinese and the rather hysterical editorial in the Global Times, the Chinese mouthpiece, is indication of just how hot the situation at the LAC is. Where is it headed? India's Foreign Affairs Minister has called for dialogue at the highest political level. But Rajnath Singh's recent attempt was not able to get the Chinese to back off from their land grab. Yet on the ground, clearly, there has been a strategic shift in the Indian response. India's capturing of the heights along the southern bank of the Pangong Tso Lake has clearly changed the game on the ground and got under the Chinese skin. Joining us on the program today, former Army Chief General V.P. Malik, former Northern Army Commander General T.S. Hooda, and also well-known strategic affairs analyst with the Observer Research Foundation, Sushant Sareen. General Malik, I'll start with you. Something has clearly altered and shifted in the last week. If India was playing from, let's say, a defensive position to secure our territory against the Chinese, now it has become preemptive, it has become proactive. And our troops taking the heights along the southern bank of the Pangong Tso Lake has clearly, in a sense, added a new dimension to the conflict. But what it does, and without giving away any strategic details, when you have soldiers standing eyeball to eyeball, when you have reports of the Chinese firing shots in the air, first time in 4 decades, what it does is it makes it very difficult to not look at a situation that may spin out of control into possible conflict, into possible war. Your take, sir?
Barkha, you are right. But let me first describe the present situation where the troops are now eyeball to eyeball at many places. I would say it is a proactive defense that we have got now. We have occupied certain features which were not occupied earlier, but they are all along the line of control, primarily to ensure the security of the Spangur Gap, which looks into Chushul Valley, as well as the line of communication, which the road which goes from Chushul to Dungti and then to Leh. So we have just made sure that that is protected. Yes, this is the first time that we have taken such a proactive defensive measure, no doubt about it. But then I think after waiting for so many months now for the situation to change from the Chinese side, which did not happen, on the other hand, we kept on receiving more and more threats. So I thought this was probably called for, which was the right step to be taken.
But now what, sir? What happens now? What happens now? Clearly there is more leverage at the dialogue table, and that's for sure. But what happens now? What happens next?
Yeah, my own take is that whatever has happened last night, probably they are also trying to explore a situation, recce a situation, where they can again lodge themselves on the mountain tops. But I believe that hereafter, military level talks, they are not likely to succeed. We've seen enough of that. And even as you said yourself, the talks between the defense ministers of the both countries, that also did not take us anywhere. I must also tell you that the defense minister from China, a general, he is not as senior in hierarchy in China, in their hierarchy, as our defense minister is. So he's a junior person working under the CMC and others.
Yes.
My own belief is that now it's only the political level talk between the Prime Minister and the President Xi Jinping, or before that maybe some kind of a way to that talk may take place when the two foreign ministers meet, because their foreign minister is a very senior person in hierarchy.
So you're saying, sir, sorry to interrupt you because you're making such an important point. You're actually saying that we are now so precariously placed that we need talks at the highest, political talks at the highest level, summit level, Prime Minister to President, Prime Minister Modi to President Xi Jinping. That is what you think we are at that point now, General Malik?
Yeah, I think it has to be now at the high political level. Otherwise, I don't expect things going anywhere to resolve the issue.
General Hooda, let me bring you in. General Malik says that the sort of response from the Indian troops was much needed. It has got India the leverage we needed at the dialogue table, but the talks can't work at a level lower than Prime Minister to President. That we are now talking at that level. Do you agree with that? And is the public environment right for that? Because the point is that having every government has to deal with public anger as well. So how do you read the situation?
So, Barkha, the way things are, obviously military to military engagement has not been working. I mean, we've seen so many rounds, and even in the latest Trishul incident, I mean, daily the brigade commanders are meeting. So I think there is a limit to what military engagement can achieve. And we've seen the same thing with, diplomatic level talk. Should we immediately sort of up it to the Prime Minister's level is something that the government will have to look at. I mean, there is nothing else after that.
Yeah.
And therefore, unless some grounds are set, I think at maybe at the foreign minister's level, some understanding is arrived at. If you just rush into Prime Minister to Prime Minister talks and then, those talks don't succeed as you want, then what options are you left with? And as you said, then how public perception will play out.
Yeah.
So my own personal sense is, let's give, the political leaders, the foreign minister, maybe a little more time. And at the same time, see how you're going to control military engagement on ground. I would think that would be the way going forward, Barkha.
I'll let General Malik respond to that, but General Hooda, I do want to ask you about how you read the reports of shots fired in the air. When we had the standoff in the Galwan Valley, even then, of course, then the protocol was to not carry arms. But given the reports of the shots fired, how do you see that? How do you see that 4 decades of no arms at the LAC, albeit in the air, used by the Chinese? What is your reading of that?
So I think, Barkha, we need to see it in the perspective of what has been happening. And I think 2-3 things, that we need to look at. The first thing that is, protocols and agreements that existed have completely broken down. We've seen that. How troops are to, behave and conduct themselves along the border when they meet, etc. All that is out of the window after what happened at Galwan and even, before that at Pangong.
Yeah.
The second thing that has happened is a great deal of mistrust is there on both sides. I mean, how do you bridge that? And that mistrust is obviously going to get carried into your military to military dialogue. It will get reflected in, when one side is making some kind of military moves across the LAC, maybe defensive, it will be looked at with a great deal of suspicion and soldiers are going to react. And now, SOPs have been revised, people have been told carry weapons, local commanders to do what they feel fit. So all this, I think, is going to lead to greater tension along the LAC, and local incidents, I fear, could increase. And so we need to be very, very clear about how, escalation control, etc. has to be done. So I see greater, tension along the border between the two ministries.
And you're clearly saying the Prime Minister to President would have to be the absolute last move, and some groundwork would have to be prepared before that. Before I get General Malik to respond to that, because he's in favor of it, he thinks every other avenue has failed. Sushant, where do you stand on that? And when General Hooda very cryptically says local incidents, that is military parlance for actually what a layperson understands to be at the level of Galwan. Now, an official talking to me on background said, look, India is prepared to take and lose blood. That is the shift. This is no longer the country of 1962. But the fact is that when body bags actually start coming home, and General Malik knows this from Kargil, that mood can change swiftly. Our army will do what it has to do, but any government is guided by public pressure, by public expectation.
Okay, so Barkha, since you mentioned public expectation and public pressure, I think Riya Chakrabarti's arrest is far more important than the fact that you're on the brink of war.
I mean, you're being sarcastic, right?
No, I'm not.
Please tell me Please tell me that you are being sarcastic, because as a former member of the television industry, I cannot tell you how ashamed I am to see the media circus that is unfolding. So please tell me that you're being sarcastic.
No, well, you have redeemed yourself by being a former member of that particular fraternity. But the fact of the matter remains that today, Riya Chakrabarti is a far more important story than the fact that we are on the brink of war. And if body bags start coming, we will have some other scandal, some salacious gossip to bother about. Who gives a damn? Wars can keep happening. Soldiers can keep dying. What's the big deal about it? The economy can go bust. All of that can happen. But since you are doing a program on something as morose as having a war, not something as salacious as Riya Chakrabarti, let me try and answer what you're saying. I think you're right. But I think you also have to give this country that much credit that even after Kargil, I remember General Malik, of course, was there at that time. He would probably bear me out. In the first 1 or 2 weeks, there were a series of setbacks that we faced. And then everybody just girded themselves up and just look at the way the entire country came together and fought that war. Of course, the army was on the front. But there were people who couldn't do anything else were willing to offer blood. That was the least they could do.
Yeah.
So I think I wouldn't underestimate that part of India. The first few days you might have a few setbacks and you might feel a little, withdrawn. But after that, I think we'll bounce back. But that's not the issue. I would probably go along with what General Huda is saying. I don't think that it can go in the first instance to the Prime Minister and the Chinese
But
president.
this is not the first instance. This is not the first instance. We are well past the first instance, Sushant.
Let me explain what I'm saying. I say that because the two guys, the two principals have been engaging each other, and look where that has brought us. I think what is happening now, one, I wish one of the two generals would clarify the kind of forces which the Chinese have brought to the border. Is that a kind of a defensive maneuver from their side, or is this a force which they have brought in, which is primed to launch an offensive? And on the answer which they give, I think the next things will depend. Number one, because if they are in an offensive mode, then all bets are off, because then this jostling for space, this trying to capture some positions, that is something which is only going to lead you to what is inevitable, that is a war. Number one. Number two, if it is only limited to jostling for positions, then what you might actually be looking at is a new realignment of the LAC, which could then, and that is the only positive I can come up with, can then be formalized in talks at the diplomatic and the political level, so that you finally decide where the LAC runs. Are we going in that direction? Because if you look at one of the informal Chinese spokesperson who works in Henry Stimson Center, who has been interviewed yesterday in the Financial Times, who has made certain statements about how the ground level is going to decide where the LAC is going to run. Now, either that can mean that the Chinese are going to change the LAC by force, and that is what is going to decide, or it can mean that once this jostling is over, the two sides will sit down. We hope that there is no shooting match, but even if there is, it will remain localized if there is not the intention to launch an offensive. And then you might see some kind of a formalization of the LAC. Okay. That is my most optimistic take. But frankly speaking, I must say that I suspect that we are on the brink of war, because everything which is happening today has a striking resemblance with what happened in 62.
I would say, Sushant, without the expertise of the three of you on this panel, that I would agree with that assessment. But let me take that to General Malik. General Malik, do you first agree that we are at the brink of war and well past what General Huda called local incidents? That in fact, if something breaks out now, it will not necessarily remain localized, because things can spiral swiftly out of control, as we know with these situations. And to both Sushant and General Huda seem to believe that the summit level talks, Prime Minister to President, is your last card to play. Because after that, you have no other card. So you might be pushing yourself into a corner, or you might be nudging yourself in the direction of war if that card fails. So please respond, General Malik.
Yeah, let me first respond to what Sushant said earlier regarding what kind of activity has started from that side, from the Chinese side. There is no doubt that they brought in a new formation, the whole formation there. And with that, my own estimate is that they came to dominate certain heights which would give them a position of advantage on our line of communication, particularly when it comes to Galwan area or Depsang Plain in that sector, and also even in Chushul sector. So that was the intention with which they brought extra forces, and that is how they started off. So apparently they were keen to change the alignment of the line of actual control, which in any case had become so ambiguous. So that is the first part. It was a very deliberate action as far as I am concerned.
Yeah.
The second part, what you said is, it is indeed tense. It can anytime escalate into a situation like we saw in Kargil war. There is absolutely no doubt about it, the way things are. And so we have to be prepared for that kind of activity. It may not go for an all-out war, but it definitely can go into a limited war along the line of actual control. And some skirmishes even elsewhere also, I won't rule that out. The third point I want to bring out here is that in October, China is going to have a very major conference in which President Xi Jinping will have to address that, and will have to give the kind of activity that he has been able to, his achievements and things like that. He probably, that will be in their mind, in the mind of the president and also his ministers, when he starts negotiating with India. Now, there, I agree with General Huda and Sushant that straight away we will probably not head into a talk between the president of China and the Prime Minister of India, but the way to that will probably be established by the two foreign ministers when they meet. But that is the only way. That I don't expect that they will start ringing up each other. It will have to be done in that particular manner.
General Huda, you are still looking at this, through local incidents. But when we talk about limited war, Kargil is technically classified as a limited war, but it really was a war by any other name. Are we now, unless there is a high-level intervention, looking at a Kargil-like situation? Are we there?
Yeah, Barkha, the reason why I talk about local incidents and, just to also bring out the issue that Sushant raised about what's the force level that the Chinese have brought in. So there is talk that they've brought in about 2 divisions, and 2 divisions is really not sufficient enough force for an all-out offensive or an all-out war. So their intentions, certainly when they came in, were not that they're going to launch, an all-out war or offensive against India. But I think to capture those areas and that territory which they claimed as their own. If you look specifically at Pangong Tso, if you look at Depsang, these are disputed areas. I know there was a clash in Galwan, but from Galwan they have actually pulled back.
Yes.
And the force level is sufficient to handle some local incidents and to maintain, their hold on areas that they have taken. Will this result in a new LAC? In some ways, it has already resulted in a new LAC. These are our traditional borders. Whatever be your claim, just damn them. We have come up to finger for, and their ambassadors say these are our traditional areas. Mm-hmm. Can local incidents, sort of spiral out of control? One worry is, the way the LAC has now been completely sort of redefined by the Chinese. That what we understood of the LAC is not that. It's our concept of LAC which we accept. And what is that concept? We don't know, because everything is not marked on ground.
Yeah.
There is no line on ground to say this is it exactly.
Yeah.
Chushul, for example, where the current issues are going on, Chushul we thought is a settled area. But again, if you occupy some heights along the LAC, Chinese can turn around and say you are 10 meters, 15 meters, 100 meters on our side. So it's like open season along the LAC. And so I see these local incidents, can they spiral out of control and lead to some greater escalation? For sure, Barkha, they can. And as Sushant is pointing out, war, whether it's limited or to some extent, I think we are heading in that direction.
Yeah. Sushant, here's the question for India. The fact of the matter is that unless there is a permanent resolution via talks that emerge from this military conflagration, we are looking at a militarization of the Himalayas. We are looking at the LOC being active, but we're also looking at the line of actual control now requiring this level of troop deployment. What does that mean? I mean, maybe that was the game plan, to put this kind of pressure on India's military resources, on India's economic resources. Maybe that was the game plan.
Maybe it was. And look, whether you now go into some kind of negotiations to firm up what the LSE is and delineate it. And I agree with what General Huda is saying, because for the Chinese, suddenly you have a 9-dash line, 11, 15, 20-dash line. Their border runs to Mars for all they can care. But the point is that somewhere along the line, you have to delineate it. Now, even if supposing you were to move in that direction, it's not going to happen overnight. It will take a couple of years. There might be some pullback from somewhere. You might go in somewhere. So there will be a negotiation on that. Until that happens, you will in any case have to man the heights which you have occupied. I don't see any way, regardless of whether it's a political level negotiation or a military level negotiation, of either side pulling back from the areas where they have now entrenched themselves. There is no way that is going to happen, because now, as one of the generals mentioned, there is so much distrust that the moment you pull back, you have this situation where the other guy might come and occupy those heights. Nobody knows this better than General Malik, because from the very heights from where we used to pull back during the winter and then go and occupy in the summer, we are now manning those heights 24/7. So I think something similar is going to happen along this line. And even after the LAC is delineated, and that is my best case scenario, even then, I don't see how you are going to be able to go back to what the situation was, where there were large areas which were left unoccupied, undefended in a manner of speaking, and you pulled back. So I don't see that happen anytime soon anyways. So I think this is a situation we have to learn to live with. And what is most important, that governments have to learn that the country has limited resources. Defense and security is a very important expenditure which governments have to meet. Just because you want to build toilets somewhere or you want to do social welfare somewhere, you have to stop the wastage in government rather than take money off of defense preparedness into social welfare activities without bothering about how to save money which is being wasted or which is being siphoned off at various levels. So I think efficiency in governance now suddenly becomes a very important thing if you want to maintain security. If you don't, then we can go back to Riya Chakrabarti.
Let me get the two generals to have the last word on this. General Huda, to you first, and then General Malik can wrap this up for us. It's what's being called the new Siachen. The fact is that, more than 3 decades later, after 1984, our men are parked in Siachen. And probably, no matter what the outcome of this is, if there is a resolution, if there isn't a resolution, our troops are going to be parked at the LSE. This means we're dealing with two fronts. Whether or not there's a two-front war, you are now dealing with two fronts militarily.
True, Barkha. As Sushant is pointing out, even if things sort of calm down and there is some agreement on disengagement, you will see much heavier deployment along the LSE. It's inevitable until and unless both sides agree that let's delineate it, mark it on ground. Do something like that. Is there a cost that we have to pay? I think we have to. And it's there before us. I see no option but for us to remain there. Is it going to be tough? It's going to be very tough, Barkha, because as of now, Ladakh remains closed for 6 months in a year. Just the advanced winter stocking is a massive logistic exercise. I know we are crying horse over Rohtang Tunnel. Rohtang Tunnel is not going to provide us 365-day connectivity because there is another path in front of it which is snowbound, and there is no talk about building a tunnel under it. So it's going to be tough, but I think it's a reality that we'll have to face.
So, General Malik, there's a long-term reality, and there has to be a short-term, if not resolution, end game here. How do you see the end game playing out, General Malik? Last word.
Look, even if people agree to a certain amount of disengagement, you will not find a solution. I believe it will be in 2 steps. First is we have to delineate the LSE, which we have been trying for the last 25 years now, and somehow the Chinese have not agreed. And as long as the LAC is not delineated, this kind of clashes can take place anytime, even afterwards. So first, I think the effort has to be to convince Chinese that we need to delineate the LAC when we are talking of disengagement and all. Now that is going to take a long time, as Sushant very correctly brought. It's not going to be tomorrow, it's going to take years. Until that time, our troops have to be on the ground and they have to make sure that whatever we have got, that is at least not lost. And, it's a question of, they say that 9/10 of possession is the law. And so therefore, wherever we are, we would not like to lose that. And thereafter, we can consider the engagement on the boundary solution. So the LAC will be, it needs to be delineated without any impact on the final border solution, which will come much later. So that is a different matter. But at the moment, if you want to have some kind of a peace along the line of actual control, whatever is possible, and not get into this kind of a situation on both sides. I mean, both Sushant and General Huda have said it's going to be difficult. Of course, it is a difficult situation. It's going to be a very expensive situation for both countries.
Yes.
So if you want to avoid that, then you have to take these two steps. First is delineate the LAC and have some kind of a disengagement along that. And the second is then after that, go for the border solution if we can achieve that.
So a very grim and precarious situation in the high Himalayas, though as Sushant has pointed out more than once on this program, you won't even get to know of it if you're watching primetime television. It is time, therefore, to find other pockets to talk about things that actually really matter. And we'll keep a close eye on this story. Thank you so much, Sushant Sareen, General Huda, and General Malik for joining us on this program today. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.